Hello, and welcome to Watching Worst Films, your podcast guide to Razzie history. Ordinarily, we take a year throughout the Golden Raspberry Awards and focus on the worst picture of that year, but every so often we like to spice things up with a little special, which allows us to tackle something out with our film purview. And this week, we are bringing you a very special episode with our first one devoted not to a film, but to an actor. We are, of course, covering Sylvester Stallone, who I don't know how to introduce him because he is not only the most nominated actor in Razzie history.
He is indeed.
He holds the record for wins, and when you tally up his nominations for screenwriting and directing, he's really like a way off in the clear. Like, he must have the most Razzies across multiple categories. Anyway, he's the king of the Razzies, Sylvester Stallone, and that is who we will be providing an overview of this week.
Yeah. Well, it's it. He's a Renaissance man. That's what he is, isn't he? An auteur.
But we have gone on too far. My name is Jericho Reed, and I will be one of your hosts. With me, Kyle Szymanski. Kyle, do you have any pre-existing relationship with Sylvester Stallone?
I mean, not really. No, this is my first going in blind. No, of course, I am a self-confessed Stallone mark. I am a big fan of his. I have been since I was a child. We've talked on this podcast endlessly about I'm the Stallone, you're the Schwarzenegger, and that's what keeps us together.
That's the magic.
That's the magic. So I'm so happy to see my boy getting repped here with a special. And it's surprising, we've been joking so long as well. Like, Frank, no special for him. It's the brother with the talent that's getting it here. So yeah, I'm super excited. What about you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. I do not know what my first Stallone film would be.
Okay.
I think it's probably either Ants or Spy Kids 3.
Oh, Jesus. I know my first. I was thinking about this as well. So I got the list, of all these noms and wins just to make sure everything was covered. And I know it was Judge Dredd.
Oh, wow.
I'm 100% sure it was Judge Dredd because I love that movie. I've spoke about it before in the podcast. I think it's visually amazing. I think some of it still is so memorable, and there's so much craftsmanship. And Rob Schneider, it's such a fucking weird film. So like, I that would have been my first. Then, as I believe I said on the Rambo episode, I believe Rambo 2 might have been quite close by. And then it would be going through, especially the 90s, Demolition Man, Cliffhanger. These would have all been like rapid fire. Like, in my growing years, I'd be renting Stallones. Then Rocky came, took over my life. So yeah, but definitely, I think Judge Dredd. Ants, I went to see in the cinema, so it would have been an early contender. I don't think I would have known it was Stallone as a dumb kid, though.
Yeah.
I know it's an iconic voice and stuff, but you're a kid. It's a talking ant. You never think about it. He's great in Ants as well. He's great in Judge Dredd. I'm nothing but love for this man. But yeah, I think Judge Dredd was definitely the first.
Yeah, so let's launch into things. Born Sylvester Gardenzio Stallone in New York City, 6th of July, 1946. He would have a number of jobs before reaching stardom. He was a porn star. Are we going to speak about this?
He's the Italian stallion. He was a softcore model, I guess, stand-in.
Yeah, porn star is an exaggeration, but
it is very much. But that's it was a stigma that did attach to him for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially in the early of his career. If it wasn't for Rocky, he would never have become what he was. He would have been probably like a Travolta stand-in, or a body double, or a stuntman or something. He got really lucky because his early work is not. I mean, it's the same as Schwarzenegger, actually. Notorious, and it's almost infamous. For the record, though, I have not seen The Italian Stallion. I think that's what it's called. It wasn't nominated for a Razzie, so why would I watch it?
Yeah, so he had interesting beginnings. Looking at his career on IMDb and Wikipedia, of course, he has a number of extra roles. So Wikipedia gives his first screen credit as a film which is not hyperlinked, black on Wikipedia, The Square Root. His role was unknown and he played an uncredited extra.
Okay.
From then on, he was in Downhill Racer as a restaurant patron with Robert Redford. He was in MASH, the Robert Altman film,
Okay.
as a soldier in the catering area. It gives him The Party at Kitty and Studs, where he played a stud, and this is the 1970 American softcore pornographic romance film
There we go.
starring Sylvester Stallone, his first leading role. He was also in Lovers and Other Strangers. He was also in The Sidelong Glances of the Pitchin' Kicker, 1971. Sorry?
No, continue, because you'll probably say it.
1971 was a big year for him because not only was he in Clute, the Alan J. Pakula film with Jane Fonda, he also had his first meeting with a certain Woodsy Allen in 1971. He was an extra in Bananas.
Exactly what I was going to bring up, because then 30 years later, 20 years later, they reunite with a cinematic masterpiece known as Ants. So yeah, you're the Woody man. Have you checked out his cameo? His brief appearance?
I saw Bananas years ago. He plays like a thug. And like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, two New York legends. He can play a thug, certainly. But, of course, this was the 70s and a good 25 years before a certain man by the name of Mr. Razzie would come up with his idea for an award to recognize the worst that Hollywood has to offer. So for the remainder of this episode, we're going to go by the Razzies. So we're going to be speaking mostly about his filmography as it pertains to the Razzies. Because between us, we have now seen all of his Razzie winning or nominated films.
Yes.
So you carried the burden because we looked at this and we're like, let's do the Stallone special. And my first thing was, Kyle, how many of these have you already seen?
Well, there was quite a few though that I slipped under my radar.
Yeah.
I say, like, I never was like a Seagal maniac with Stallone. I never obsessively devoured his entire filmography.
Yeah.
There's, especially probably Judge Dredd after like 96 onwards, there is like I'm not that interested. He does fizzle out, I would say. Well, like they all do. It's okay. It's not a bad thing.
I don't know what you're talking about with Arnie, Kyle. He just released a big Netflix show, which
just onwards and upwards, isn't it? So yeah, no, it was really interesting to see. Again, this podcast started from an idea because of Rambo 2 and Star Trek. I was appalled that they were there. I still am appalled that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
So to see all the other ones, see some of the ones that slipped through the cracks. I will say, before we even get into it, the ones I watched, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh, that's good.
So I have lots to talk about me discovering new things with Stallone.
Yeah. So between us, there were only 6 of his Razzie nominated films which we had not seen, and so it was an easy decision, 3 and 3. I gave you first pick, and I think the only one that I brought to the table was like Spy Kids 3, wasn't it? That was the only one I'd seen that you hadn't.
Yeah, it's exactly it. There was, so yeah, I even looking through them as well. Yeah, there was only. I'm surprised as well that I've seen so many of them that I just forgot about. But yeah, anyway, that was 3 for 3, and I was delighted with my 3 picks. Yeah. So I'm a happy camper.
Okay, we are starting off with one of your picks, 1985, the debut of Mr. Stallone at the Razzies, with a little picture called Rhinestone, where Sylvester Stallone won Worst Actor and was nominated for Worst Screenplay. So you watched this.
I did watch this. This is I don't have much to say apart from the song Drinkenstein that we watched and covered. This is a really fucking short film.
Yeah. So you were loving it. You were in heaven.
This is 106 minutes or some shit.
Okay.
Flies by. I had a wonderful time. It's stupid and the songs are fine. It's such a simple premise about. So, it's almost like the Simpsons episode with not Mindy, the singer,
Lurleen.
And the Colonel for Lurleen. That's why I got through it the entire fucking thing, and it's because of Dolly.
Yeah.
But the songs are fine. Dolly's really fun. Stallone's probably the worst part of it.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that. He's not a great singer, and when it's not done tongue in cheek, he's miscast. But it is one of those weird. I did sit back and just like take in the fact I'm watching Parton and Stallone in 1984 or 5 or whenever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is actually the one I have least to talk about.
Yeah.
So, because I watched 4, I should actually say this. I did watch 4 for this.
Okay.
So I don't know if I was meant to, because I watched Rhinestone first, because I knew that was like, I thought that was the big one. But
Yeah.
then I was like, no, I'm sure there's more. So not much to say. Stallone isn't good in it though. It's not. He hasn't found his groove.
Yeah.
I still think he's still. Well, this is a mid-80s where you're jumping between Rambo sequels and Rocky sequels
Yeah.
and then random arm wrestling and stuff. So yeah, not much to say about it. It isn't worth a watch though. I think that's how I'll summarize it.
Yeah. I have a little piece of trivia for you here. So the first thing is a quote from Dolly Parton about the film. I guess the public didn't want to see Sylvester Stallone do comedy, or see me do Sylvester Stallone.
That's good. That's funnier than the film. That is funnier than the film. Yeah, this is what I'm meaning by still like. I will cover Stallone as a comedic talent. I know we did on Hollywood Burn,
Yeah.
but with Oscar coming up, I want to speak more about the comedic side of Stallone.
Yeah.
It's not there yet, though.
Yeah.
It's too many. It's not even he's to blame. It's just there's so many elements that just don't work.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I really can't. It's not a bad film. It's easy to watch. It's unique and weird in good ways, but it's not memorable and it's not campy enough to like put it into a top tier. So
Yeah.
but that's a good quote. I like that quote.
What you said about it being tonally mixed completely makes sense, because Stallone himself has kind of spoken about that, saying that when he initially signed on, Mike Nichols was in talks to direct.
Okay.
And not having seen the film, I can see it being like a sort of like, if not Mike Nichols, Elaine May, like Sylvester Stallone's Ishtar. I can kind of see it having that. And the screenwriter, Phil Alden Robinson, has kind of disowned the film, saying that like when he wrote it, it was much more of a sort of nuanced thing. And then Stallone came on board and they just sanded all the rough edges off.
Which is surprising, because I would have assumed it would be opposite, because this film would have probably worked better if it was serious and it was just going with Stallone's plucky underdog.
Yeah.
The down and out bartender
Rocky,
that wants to sing.
Rocky, the
like,
musician.
Rocky, onwards, like, yeah, I mean, because he does, it's his favorite trope in the world.
Yeah.
So, like, but embrace it here. You'll do it for, again, arm wrestling and professional wrestling and driving and everything else you'll ever do. But it would have probably worked better here. Again, I don't think it's that right. So it's not a Razzie winner though.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well, he won for.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a winner. I don't think it's a winner.
Okay.
I think a nomination is fair, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. Final thing I have to say is we get a huge jump down from Mike Nichols, because the director of this film ends up being Bob Clark, the auteur behind Baby Geniuses and Porky's. So
yes. It does look like him. It looks very early 80s. It's got a stench of his style. I don't even want to use style's too generous, but yeah, it isn't very well made and directed. So I'm gonna put the blame at him rather than Stallone and Parton.
So we are then off to 1986 with the nominations for Rambo: First Blood Part 2 and Rocky 4. So he won Worst Actor for Rambo. He was nominated for Worst Screenplay for Rambo. He won Worst Director for Rocky 4, and he was nominated for Worst Screenplay for Rocky 4.
I mean, we covered this on the Rambo episode. I don't want to get my blood pressure high again.
Yeah.
But absolute fucking joke.
Yeah.
First Blood Part 2, not my favorite Rambo.
Yeah.
Still very fine, competent action movie that's launched his career again and blah blah blah. But Rocky 4 in particular, I love so much. I know I can't even call it cult anymore, because I think it's unanimous. It's one of the better or most beloved Rockies now. I still haven't watched his director's cut on it yet, so one day I'll get to that. But yeah, no, these are big no-nos. These are absolutely. This is probably like a peak year for Stallone, so to see him being dunked on so much really fucking hurts.
Yeah, like, I don't know. This is too early for him to be under the Mr. Razzie Eye of Sauron, but for him to have, like, 4 nominations, as you said, in one of, like, his peak years, like, maybe if you really don't like him, he deserves a couple nominations, but he certainly doesn't deserve wins. So we're jetting off now to 1987, and a film I know you are fond of, Cobra, where he received Worst Actor and Worst Screenplay. Just nominations this time.
Yeah, so I'm sure I spoke about Cobra before. I do have a love-hate relationship with it at times. I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
The covers like imprinted in my brain forever. Renting it on video, it is miserable. I think that's like the thing that always makes me swing back and forward. It isn't the cover, you know what I mean? It's
Do
not
you
the
just want
Judge
to?
Dredd.
Sorry, I realize we might have gotten too deep. Do you want to summarize the plot of Cobra briefly, or like the
I can't.
the
Hold on,
concept, the conceit? Because
There's
all I know is the
violence.
poster, really, where he's a cool dude with sunglasses and lasers.
Well, you've named it. He's Cobra. Hold on, what's his name in it? Cobra.
Okay, I know his name.
Cobra.
I know his
Cobra.
name.
Yeah,
'Cause
Cobra.
this was a piece of trivia because it said most 80s action heroes were called John. The hero of Cobra was called Marion. A little reference to John Wayne there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Marion Cobretti.
So, from what I remember, it is a solo lethal weapon slash Beverly Hills Cops, but without any humor or buddy cop. And he's going after a serial killer.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the serial killer. You might have it on hand. It's like the Night Walker or the Street Man
Yeah,
or something.
it's not Nightcrawler, but yeah, it's some Night Creeper
It's
maybe
something. Yeah, it's some very Manhunter.
Yeah.
Like, so that's all I remember. He has to protect a son or a kid in it as well.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
very simple. It's very Beverly Hills Cop kind of plot, but without the humor and with like dark fucking elements. And Stallone has no fucking character in it.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't got any of his personality. He doesn't have any of the underdog. He has that Judge Dredd without the reason to be Judge Dredd. It works in a sci-fi fucking world. It doesn't work in Cobra.
Yeah.
But all this bitching aside, I still like Cobra. I still fondly think of Cobra. Might be nostalgia.
Yeah.
He probably deserves the nomination for actor.
Yeah.
Because he does suck. And again, it's just hollow, I guess is the only way I can say it. Like, it's not very you're Cobra, Marion Cobra Eddie, like you've got so much to work with here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a misfire. It is a misfire on it. So it's probably his first big budget blip, let's say.
Yeah.
But I still like Cobra. I would recommend Cobra. Maybe it's aged even better now. So yeah.
So it may well have aged even better now because one of the pieces of trivia I saw was that one of the notable fans of Cobra is a favorite director of mine, Nicholas Finding Refn. And
that explains so much. I
all the things you're saying, like shallow, one-dimensional character, blank. So Ryan Gosling's character in Drive with his toothpick, apparently that was a reference, tip of the hat, to Cobra and his matchstick that he goes around with.
Yeah, he does. And even, is it not a cobra on the back of the jacket?
It's a scorpion. Yeah.
But you could have easily put that as a fucking cobra.
Yeah.
Like it's what I mean. That's what I've spoke to you about it. I'm sure I've said on the podcast. Like, I don't like Drive.
Yeah.
I don't like Hollow. Give me Taxi Driver. Give me something. So yeah, you might love Cobra.
I'm gonna watch Cobra, and it might be my favorite Stallone film. And also, I'm going to pitch to Nicholas Finding Refn that he make a Cobra sequel because I think Stallone would work as a Refn protagonist. He just has to stand there and
he
look vacant.
And I've spoke about modern grumpy Stallone.
Yeah.
Hulking bear Stallone would be fucking it. Cobra's back, baby.
Yeah.
The Cobra rises again. Like, just make it happen.
Yeah. He doesn't speak. Doesn't have his
doesn't have to do
ridiculous
anything.
voice. He's
just shoot people. Give him like a double the size of gun. Like 2 times size. Like, make it comedically huge and just get blasted.
Neon on that grizzled face.
Yeah. Take my money.
So I had no idea about this other piece of trivia, which was that Stallone was originally set to star in Beverly Hills Cop. Did you know that?
Oh,
Because this came
no, I
about
actually didn't know. No, I didn't.
because I assumed that Beverly Hills Cop just existed as an Eddie Murphy
I
vehicle.
thought it was an Eddie. I thought it was made for Eddie. Because Eddie's, I mean, what's this? 85,
This is
86, did you say?
87.
Yeah, okay, well, he's still, like, Murphy's still the biggest star in the fucking world. Yeah, I thought Beverly Hills was written for him.
No, so like presumably it was redeveloped, but the Cobra kind of came about because of that missed opportunity of Beverly Hills Cop and him being like, okay, well let's try go for another swing
Do
at that.
my own one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It doesn't, it's too, I mean, it's more noir. It's more like the first Beverly Hills
yeah.
than obviously 2 and 3, which gets sillier and sillier. Yeah, no, I mean, the similarities are there, but I didn't know that. That's interesting. He would suck in Beverly Hills, so that's the right call. And Eddie Murphy would suck in Cobra, so like that's the right fucking call.
Yeah. So then we are off to 1988 with one sole nomination, Over the Top Worst Actor.
Finally get to it. His infamous arm wrestling film. It's I spoke about it before when we hit this year.
Yeah.
So I forgot it was his son, wasn't it, that was nominated for Worst New Star or some shit as well. And I was like, I couldn't even remember I was like, who the fuck's this? Who's Johnny Hawk or whatever he's fucking called in it?
Well, I have a note for you here. I don't think they ever give his son's surname because Sylvester Stallone plays Lincoln Hawk and his son is called Michael. So
Michael.
Sylvester and
Mike
his son,
Eaton.
Mike Hawk.
Yeah, Mike Hawk Jr. Yeah, Over the Top stupid. I said this before. I don't recommend it, but it is campy fun. It is homoerotic. It is like a bunch of wrestlers as well in it. So like I remember Terry Funk, Hardcore Legends in it, but I don't remember much else. Like, it is a blur. It's a weird film because it's trying to, and I think this is the tagline. I could be wrong, but I remember it being like he has to reconnect with his son and become the arm wrestling champion in Vegas or something, like all in one weekend. So it's just such a fucking stupid idea for a film, and he deserves to be like kind of dragged over the coals for such a stupid fucking idea.
Yeah.
But but it is campy fun. So like, I'd say Over the Top is more fun to watch than like Rhinestone.
Yeah.
Because you could watch it with friends, have a riff. It's got the plucky underdog gonna become the arm wrestling champion. Yeah, I understand why it's here.
Yeah.
I want to rewatch it. It's been a long time since I've watched Over the Top.
Yeah.
So this is like fragmented memories. But yeah, it probably does deserve it though. So again, this personal biasness comes into a lot for Stallone.
Then we are off to 1989 with Rambo 3, where he won Worst Actor and was nominated for Worst Screenplay.
I'm angry. I said before, I really like Rambo 3 because it turns up the camp stupid value of 2 and just throws itself out there. It's Rambo Land from our childhood. It's the iconic gunning down helicopters, fighting with the brave Taliban warriors of Afghanistan. You got Troutman fully involved as like a lethal weapon, buddy cop thing. Yeah, I really like Rambo 3. It is stupid, and I understand that, but it's good fun. It's way more fun than 2, and it's the problems I have with 2 being stuck in the middle of First Blood and Part 3. So yeah, I think Mr. Razzies a fucking hack for putting Rambo 3 here. It's like Rocky 3. Rocky 3 being stuck in between the camp of 4 and the first 2. It's exactly the same as that, but you've got Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. Like, Rambo 3 is great. Thoroughly recommend it to people.
I think for me, like, a truly Razzie-worthy performance has to kind of be like, well, no, because I'm now just thinking of The Fanatic.
Yeah.
But for me, a Razzie performance has to kind of be like at odds with the film, maybe. And from what I understand, the Rambo performance is like what it needs to be in like most of the Rambo films.
Most of them, apart from The Last Blood, he always, like, that's exactly the best point. And Stallone is guilty of sticking out like a sore thumb in certain things and being miscast and giving bad performances. Rambo is none of them.
Yeah.
apart from maybe the last one, are worth being anywhere near here. Yeah, like honestly, I 100% agree with you.
I just want to take a moment to shout out our sponsors and to say that this episode is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan. So, then we are off to 1990 with Lock Up, where he was nominated
Oh,
for Worst Actor.
and this is one of your
This
picks,
is one of
so
mine, yeah. So I watched this. We discussed Lock Up a couple weeks ago. This is a prison drama where Sylvester Stallone is taken to a minimum. Sylvester Stallone is an inmate at a minimum security prison where they let him out on day release and he just kind of lives a regular life. He just like, I don't know, it's just like a hotel that he goes to sleep and spends his days like hanging out with his sweetheart, and then he goes back to clock in at the prison, and he's suddenly grabbed by a bunch of men who transfer him to a maximum security facility overseen by the hard ass warden of Donald Sutherland. And it's like it's a really good time because he's like I like him in Rocky. I like him in the first Rocky. He does have that underdog like likability to him, and I think Stallone's kind of like torn between two things for me. Is that like he's kind of like I don't know. I've always spoken about how like I was drawn to Arnie because of the sense of humor. Stallone's almost like a 70s actor in like an 80s action hero body, because there are moments where you see like it's not an outrageous comparison to liken him to like Al Pacino or something. Like Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico, Stallone's almost is like a big dumb guy, a big muscle head
yeah.
dumb guy version of that.
So I have that exact topic in exact Pacino as well that I want to bring up
Yeah.
in 2 years time when we
Yeah.
get there, or 3 years or whenever it came out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I 100% agree with you. I get that. I do understand that.
And so like I hate him when he's in like the 80s, 90s, like because he's not as good an action hero as Schwarzenegger, because Arnie's just more charismatic and funnier. But like Arnie is always Arnie, whereas Stallone, I don't even want to say this, that he has more range, because Arnie can play a Terminator, he can play Commando, he can play an eraser, he can play a kindergarten cop. But like, so anyway, in Lockup, he is in actor mode, and I like him.
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
It's just a great, fun prison drama, and like I said, there is that really sweet scene where like he sort of gets together with the guys, and they're doing work on a car in the garage, and like there's like some kids who's like, oh, I committed some crime at like 17, 18, whatever, and I've just been here and I never learned to drive. And so they're fixing up like the warden's car or whatever, and Stallone's like, okay, come on, get in, and he pushes him around the garage as this kid is like pretending to drive, and Stallone's be like, oh, you're coming up from Times Square, like take a left. And then the kid's like, that, no, I want to do it, I'm gonna turn it on. And Stallone's like, no. He's like, come on, just a couple revs. And Stallone's like, okay, fine, if you really have to. And then he turns it on, revs it, and Stallone's like, okay, enough's enough. And then the kid just like hits pedal to the metal and like goes flying off, and Stallone's gonna go like,
Nice.
no. But I like Lock Up. I think it's a good film, and I think he's good in it. So strike that from the list. He was also nominated that year for Tango and Cash, where he was nominated as worst actor.
And I like Tango and Cash. I'm sure I covered it on this year when we were speaking about it.
Yeah,
Tango and Cash is obviously two of my favorites, Stallone and Kurt Russell.
yeah,
Playing Tango and Cash respectively.
Yeah.
Two cops, New York, LAPD, can't remember. They are total opposites.
yeah,
Obviously, it's our lethal weapon,
yeah.
and they are framed for murder. They have to
Oh,
work
shit.
together to overcome their differences. It's not a great film. Tango and Cash is, it's missing like the comedic elements and the buddy copness of like Lethal Weapon. The chemistry is not great at times. It is a very, how to put it, like a shitty Verhoeven in terms of like, like in terms of like trying to be a little bit of satire and maybe
Yeah.
trying to reflect on all these films and the culture of America at the time. It is not that,
Yeah.
but it is actually still a really good action film. I believe, I could be speaking out my ass, they were going to make a sequel to it at one
Okay.
point, which would have been really fun because
Yeah.
I would have loved to seen them reunite and be do the Lethal Weapon formula like
Yeah.
a lot more. You could learn from it, and but yeah, I like Tango and Cash. I've always liked Tango and Cash, even as a kid. Stallone is just a bit generic in it.
Yeah.
Like he's in Cobra mode. He's
Yeah.
in again. What you're saying, sometimes he doesn't shine if you don't let that like personality or the
Yeah.
likability come through. If you play him straight, it's not always the best. But I like Tango and Cash. I wouldn't have it nominated at all.
What's their dynamic like? Because to me, that's like two rigs, or like whatever Mel Gibson is. That's like two wild cards. Like,
Stallone's a straight man.
okay, yeah.
Which, yeah, it is two rigs. But
Yeah.
Russell's rigs,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But again, it's not that well done.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the complete dynamics. Bit strange. You should have just went like action hero mode in this and had like the team up, of two big stars kicking out like
Yeah.
an Expendables, but in the
Yeah.
80s or in the early 90s would have been much more efficient. But yeah, it is what it is. It's still a fun film though.
Yeah.
I do recommend it. I know my only trivia I only remember from it is Our Boy. It's a John Peters production, I think.
Oh shit.
And he is all the reason it is a mess. I For a while I thought this was an Alan Smithy film, but I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know who directed it off the top of my head, but I remember this is a Peters finger in the pie.
Yeah.
And ruining everything.
Tango and Cash fight a giant robot spider.
Yeah.
So we haven't really spoken about this so far because the thinking, I think, is that once we've covered all of the decades and whatever, we can go back with our Razzie clip show where me and you just take a week off and hand it over to Troy McClure. But Mr. Razzie has like sort of like landmark award ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
So like end of decade, like first 25 years, whatever. So it will not surprise you at all to learn who took home Worst Actor of the Decade for the Razzies' first 10 years.
Yeah. So that's everything we just covered, I assumed.
Yeah.
Unless he slid. I thought he might have slid some other things just to piss on him more.
No.
Absolute joke though, because this is covering like 2 Rambos and a Rocky.
Yeah.
You can go fuck yourself. Lock Up, like you said. Tango and Cash. Actually, go fuck yourself.
Like
you could maybe even justify it in the 90s more, but
yeah, exactly.
no,
in the 80s, I'm like, I'm sure there were a lot worse.
I'm sure there was
targets
much worse.
than
Yeah,
Stallone.
Yes,
but we will cover that when we finish the 80s and we look at his contenders. Perhaps there might be someone more worthy. I'll just take this opportunity to read out a contribution that we got to the show from our friend in Australia, Tyler Van. On Stallone's Razzie nominations, he said, "Some of it may be deserved, as he has put out a number of stinkers, but I think Mr. Razzie dunks on him too much. Movies like Rocky IV, Lock Up, and Tango and Cash are great. I even mildly enjoyed Samaritan from last year and thought he was fine in it. Looking forward to the discussion." So, once again, we have the best fans, don't we, folks? Because more or less in line with what we were saying, the films that Tyler singles out, Lock Up, Tango and Cash, and Rocky IV, are ones we've also shouted out. So, have you finished? Oh, Samaritan. yeah. We'll deal with that when we get to...
when we get there.
Yeah. But thank you very much, Tyler, for that contribution to the show.
Thank you again.
And next up, we are off to 1991 with Rocky V, where he was nominated for Worst Actor and Worst Screenplay.
Yep, this is where I don't defend him, because I hate Rocky V.
Yeah.
We've spoke about it before on this podcast, I think with Rambo, when Rocky was nominated. 5 is a joke. It is so weird in trying to go back to the roots of the first one, breaking them back, trying to do the underdog story 5 films in when he's been world champion 3 times and defeated communism doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
The fact, there's some nice bits in about it, but it's so anticlimactic. It is such a downer to end the series and the franchise on.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, but Sage Stallone is not a good actor either.
Yeah.
Their lack of boxing, just there's so much wrong with it. There's the few little nuggets are good, but compared to the first 4, it's such a downgrade. And 6 and the Creeds, it stands out so much like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Especially for worst screenplay, I think he deserves both of these.
Wow. So we are then off to 1992 with Oscar, where he received a Worst Actor nomination. So I wonder, the Beverly Hills Cop thing, is this like a long coming collaboration with Landis coming to fruition?
I mean, it has all my ingredients, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I watched Oscar for
Yeah.
this. I remember when we covered this year when it popped up, I was like, what the fuck is Oscar? I've never heard of this. I thoroughly enjoyed Oscar. I really, really liked Oscar. Oscar is a simple film about Stallone playing a mobster, like a boss, a mob boss,
Yeah.
who is going clean. He wants to go
Yeah.
legitimate. He wants to Godfather 3 it, and he wants to become a banker. And the whole film is it's a farce, like a farce film. It's set in the 30s. It's a farcical comedy. I will say I expect when I kind of knew I read like a little bit about it before watching it. The poster is him hanging on a clock,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, this is gonna be Buster Keaton. This is gonna be gag, 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 like stupid, fast visual comedy, physical gags. It is not. It is like a Marx Brothers. It's more like Duck
Yeah.
Soup. It is mostly all set in Stallone's house until the end, with just various people come in, the plot happening. He has to marry off his daughter because she says she's pregnant, and then he has another daughter. It's a big mix. It's just a
Yeah.
farce.
Yeah.
It's just a farce. But Stallone is fantastic in this.
Okay.
The film. He is the glue. The film would fall apart without
Oh.
him. He doesn't do much. That it's quite
Yeah.
subtle, but his delivery is
Yeah.
great. His timing's absolutely spot
Yeah.
on. He's obviously the focus of the film. The film revolves around him, and everyone just sort of interacting with him. But he is genuinely really
Yeah. Yeah.
good. The film's actually really good. I
Okay.
lost track of laughs,
Whew,
which
good
is
sign.
my benchmark. I think after like 5, I was just
I do
chuckling
not have
away. I was
enough
like, "That's
fingers
smart."
anymore.
Yeah, I was like, how am I meant to count this? I just sat back and enjoyed it. It isn't
Hmm.
perfect. Like I don't give it glowing reviews because some of it does, some of the momentum and the pacing is a bit off, and halfway through I did want the physical gags. This should have been more of a complete representation of like early cinema and comedic stylings rather than making again like a Marx Brothers tribute in 1993 or whenever. That's strange. You should, because there's like his goons are like stooges as well. They have some stooge style
Yeah.
humor. But if you leaned into that way
Yeah. Yeah.
more, and he had to go on hijinks, and there was big
Yeah.
gags and like physical humor, I would have adored this
Yeah.
film. Doesn't feel like a Landis film. It's shot like a Landis
Yeah.
film, but like the writing's not. It's not his way usually.
Yeah.
So it's good from him. Like Landis gets a pass as well for.
Razzie
It's probably his
Redeemer
best
Award
post.
goes to John
Yeah.
Landis for killing a bunch of people and creating Max Landis.
To Oscar, yeah. All this is redemption. I actually really enjoyed it. It's the one I enjoyed the most watching for this
Oh,
this
yeah.
episode. I actually
Yeah.
recommend it. I think it's genuinely good fun, and it's Stallone like doing really well. And the reason I was bringing this up earlier is because I read that originally cast was Pacino,
Oh, okay.
who Landis wanted and said it would have been a much better film if all signed on. And that
Oh,
is fucking wrong. That is so wrong
yeah.
because of the mob boss and plot, it would be a parody of Godfather Part
Yeah.
3, and Pacino would be chewing through the scenery, and he would not have done half a good as job as Stallone plays it here. Stallone plays it in a almost innocent, like good-hearted, but he is also a killer
Yeah.
and like a mob boss. There's so much fun in Stallone, which would not have been happening with Pacino. I actually think the biggest problem with the film is its
Yeah.
title, because Oscar is a throwaway gag that his daughter wants to run away with a chauffeur called Oscar, who's not in the film until the very last scene. And there's Oscar, like it's one of those weird 6 days almost title that's got nothing to do with the actual
Yeah.
film. If this film had a relevant title, and it might have done better, but I really enjoy it. I actually recommend it. Go watch
Yeah.
Oscar. It's probably one of the better Landis post murder, post Three
Yeah.
Amigos. Yeah, big fan. Really, really, really liked it. Massive thumbs
Yeah.
up.
So, from the good to the bad. We are off to 1993 and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, where he won Worst
Oh my god.
Actor.
Yeah, it sucks. I've covered it before. You've not watched it, have
I
you?
haven't seen it, no.
Okay, it's I think I don't know if it was Ebert or someone famous who said it would have been rejected as a Golden Girls like
Yeah,
episode because it's flimsy and it's stupid. The biggest problem with it is it's not
yeah,
funny, and I get it. I get the Schwarzenegger famous setting up Stallone for
yeah,
it because you would have thought this would have been his kindergarten
yeah,
cop. Instead of having children, I'll have an old lady and it'll be the same
yeah,
dynamic. But it doesn't have any of the charm or the genuine
yeah.
jokes. I think it's always its biggest problem is it is a factory produced script. That's why it feels like a Golden Girls like sitcom. It's awful. Stallone's awful. He's really awkward and there's nothing to go off. He's so generic in it. Yeah, like it is not. It is not. It's probably the bottom. It's probably the worst Stallone film I've ever seen. Off the top of my head, it's the one I'd pull out right away.
Well, you're in good company because the man himself considers this the worst film he has ever made.
Yeah, I don't think it's even like debatable. Especially like a lead role and not just a bit part or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just to retell that thing that you touched upon, for those listeners who haven't listened to our back catalogue, firstly, what are you doing? And secondly, those who aren't aware of the story, Arnold Schwarzenegger leaked that he was interested in this script because this was kind of the height of his rivalry with Stallone. So he leaked interest, and Stallone was like, no, hang on, I'm going to do this one. Arnie, of course, hated the script and knew it would be a disaster, and so tricked Stallone into starring in the worst film of his career. And that's why we love him, folks. So then we're off to 1994 with Cliffhanger and the
Oh,
nomination for Worst Screenplay. So this seems like a rare act of restraint from Mr. Razzie.
yeah, because Cliffhanger's fucking great and he can fuck himself. I speak about my love of Cliffhanger all the fucking time. Partially nostalgia, but partially because I still enjoy it. I still enjoy the uniqueness and the visual aspect of the film. I have nothing bad to say about Cliffhanger. It's not his best. He's not particularly standout.
Yeah,
It's not a role that's to showcase his best abilities. But Cliffhanger is something that you don't get anymore.
yeah.
It is such a fucking great little action film that I have nothing bad to say about Cliffhanger.
And then we are off to 1995 with The Specialist, where he was nominated for Worst Actor and he won Worst Screen Couple with Sharon Stone. So this was one of my viewings. So The Specialist, Sylvester Stallone plays the titular specialist. He's an explosives expert, and he is down in Colombia or something, I think. He's down in South America doing a hit for the CIA or something with his commanding officer, James Woods. And Stallone has primed the explosive device, and then he realizes that there is a child they're blowing up a bridge when a car goes over it, and Stallone realizes there's a child in the car, and he's like, abort, abort. And James Woods, being the evil James Woods figure that he is like, no, we're going ahead. And so Stallone is in full Rambo mode, running, because he's like, I think he like even shakes James Woods, being like, give me the failsafe, like, if you won't abort, I will. And James Woods like throws the trigger away and is like, there isn't one. So Stallone runs slow-mo Rambo style to try and grab the device from underneath the car, and he fails, and the car gets blown up. So Stallone murders a child within the first 5 minutes of this film.
Nice.
And then he beats James Woods to a pulp. And so it's not like a pre-title scene, but the music for this film was done by John Barry. And this is where I'm like, I feel like had you known more about The Specialist, you might have taken it instead of Rhinestone, because this is kind of like, it's kind of a bit Stallone does Bond. Because after he leaves the CIA, whatever, and he goes off to Miami and just kind of like slinks around Miami, where he is a hitman. Like he's putting his bomb skills to use as a kind of assassin, and he falls in with Sharon Stone, who wants him to kill the killer of her parents. And there's all sort of like Miami mobster stuff going on. James Woods comes back into the picture. Eric Roberts is the guy who killed Sharon Stone's family. I, of course, big fan of Eric Roberts because of The Dark Knight. We also have Rod Steiger. He's in it. And yeah, it's like... It gets kind of ridiculous. Like, it's not great, but like, I didn't hate it. I thought Stallone was awful initially in the like in that opening where he has to have like I don't know, he has to be conflicted. He's just like an inert lump when he's like, oh no, like I don't know, I don't know what I would compare it to. Like I think Tom Cruise might be able to do that well, or like I always think of the scene, like the one good scene in American Sniper where Bradley Cooper is trying to weigh up killing a child. I think he needs someone with a little bit more dramatic ability to do that. But like as time went on, when Stallone is just the Miami assassin guy, whatever, he's fine. He grows into the role. It is a fascinating production, however, as Stallone originally wanted David Fincher to direct.
Ooh.
And David Fincher was in
that'd be
talks,
good.
but the studio vetoed him after Alien 3.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
What could have been?
Oh God, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah. And another little thing for you. Seagal was also in the frame to star in this, but he turned it down because there was too much sex.
Oh, what? That doesn't sound like my boy Steven. He's not going to do that. Like, see, when he goes straight to DVD, he's going to load them up gratuitous as much half his age as possible. So it's strange to hear that he had different values in the 90s.
And so the only one it won is worst screen couple with Sharon Stone. So this is the infamous one that they shared with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt for Interview with a Vampire. Let me just say right now, Lestat and Louis Innocent, because I think they're great, but especially in comparison to this, they are electric, because Stone and Stallone do not work at all. And Mr. Razzie in his book singles out the shower sex scene, infamous shower sex scene, which it's hard to disagree with Mr. Razzie's take on this one. It isn't good because they don't meet for half the film. They're just sort of speaking over the phone, and then they meet and they have this like very 90s steamy scene. And on this, Stallone says, "Okay, let it be known, I didn't want to do this scene because Sharon was not cooperating. We got to the set and she decides not to take her robe off. The director asks only a few of the crew to remain and she still won't take it off. I promised her I wouldn't take any liberties, so what's the problem? She said, I'm just sick of nudity. I asked her if she could get sick of it on someone else's film. She was having none of it. So I went down to my trailer, brought back a bottle of Black Death vodka that was given to me by Michael Douglas, and after half a dozen shots, we were wet and wild." So, yeah,
Wow.
not a great reflection on the man there.
No, that's a downer.
Yeah, the pre-intimacy coordinator days when Sylvester Stallone would just get you drunk and take advantage of you. So yeah, no, that award for this film is well deserved. It was also interesting. Stallone was kind of at the peak of his interference as he demanded that James Woods have his scenes be cut down because Stallone was worried that he would outact him. And I'm like, James Woods is good. Like, James Woods is good at playing that sort of like conniving slimeball villain. But if you are worried about being outacted by James Woods...
Yeah, fair.
So, moving on to 1996, we have a nomination for Assassins, Worst Actor, and we have a nomination for Judge Dredd.
Ooh. So I watched Assassins for this. It is confusing. It has a really good opening. Basically, Stallone's a master assassin, and Antonio Banderas is another assassin that wants to kill him because to take his spot is like the best assassin. So and then Juliana Moore, sorry, however you say her name, she gets mixed up in it, teams up with Stallone so they can find out who sent Antonio Banderas to kill him. I think that's the gist of it, to put it easy. It's okay. It starts off really well. It's a great opening scene, going through the forest, and Stallone's all fantastic way to like. It's got good build up. It does right. So my only thoughts, my notes are quite limited. It doesn't feel like a Richard Donner film, which is what I picked. This is the reason I picked this, because kind of expected Lethal Weapon. I expected Banderas and Stallone to be teaming up and doing like an assassin's version of Lethal Weapon. It is not that. He feels like a gun for hire here. It's a very competent film. The script's a mess, but that's not anyone's fault other than the Wachowskis who wrote it, which is another reason I wanted to see this. This was their first filmatic appearance. The script, selling the script for this, I read, is why they got to make The Matrix. Because they wanted control over this because Richard Donner rewrote it, or got someone to rewrite it. And it does feel like a Wachowski. There's moments of Wachowskis, especially in how confusing it is. Like you can tell that they've just gone all over the place. But it's an interesting little thought about it. Not much to say about it though. It's very forgettable. Stallone is good in it though. He's probably the highlight. Banderas is fine, but Stallone is really good. He's very nuanced for this time. He gives a good performance. He doesn't do the underdog, but he's still sympathetic. You know, it's a really good little. He tries. He does really try. Again, it isn't a good film. It's got what I call the mid-90s problem of trying to ape Tarantino, and everyone talks like they've watched Reservoir Dogs, and they're like, wait, this is how every human being has to speak. You know,
why are they speaking about Madonna so much?
Yeah, like fucking like if you just stopped fucking about and having long dialogue and told me what was going on or showed me what was going on, it would be a much better film. It isn't bad. It isn't good. It just exists. I think that's the reason I didn't know about it, is that it's a very forgettable film. It's just there. It's fine. However, as I've said, on the flip side of that, I love Judge Dredd. I think it's visually, it's a comparison to my Super Mario Bros. Original. How it is just a unique looking film that will stick with you. It's really good fun. It doesn't tonally take anything from its source material, but it's how I like my 90s, early 2000 comic book adaptations of just being really good fucking fun and campy but weird with a lot of thought and care in the production of it. Yeah, I still love Judge Dredd. Like I don't, and I like the comics too. I like the source material. So everyone that's like, no, Carl Urban, they can go fuck themselves. I thoroughly like it. So it's actually two good performances and two good Stallone things here. So Mr. Razzie can blow it out his ass. He's totally wrong.
Okay, zipping off to 1997 with Daylight, where he was nominated for Worst Actor.
Yeah, he isn't right. So Daylight, again, he's coming into the later 90s where we're hitting trends. You know, that we had the Tarantino, so now we've got our disaster movie that he has to be in. I've seen Daylight so many times. I don't know why. I think I just watched it a lot as a kid and then revisited it out of nostalgia. But it's fine. Stallone's fine in it. Like, there's some cool set pieces. It's stupid, you know, being trapped in a tunnel after, I think it's nuclear or like radioactive waste or something blows it up and the water's leaking in, and you've got all these side characters you have to meet and save on the way. If I remember correctly, Stallone is a paramedic or first aid, like first on the scene, first aid. Yeah, Stallone's fine in it. Daylight's fine. It's no worse than Twister. It's no worse than Dante's and Peak or Inferno or whatever the fuck it's called. They're all kind of blending. It doesn't do anything particularly wrong, and Stallone is fine, absolutely fine.
And then we are off to, this is where I'm like, the year here might not be consistent with our years, because it says it's 1999 for Alan Smithy, but I guess they're maybe using the year the award ceremony was held. Nevertheless, 1999, Alan Smithy film Burn Hollywood Burn, Worst Supporting Actor nomination. So we spoke about this at length on our last episode. He plays himself. He's the highlight of the film. This is like, I feel like I can say the most sort of cut and dry of like, no, he's completely not deserving for this, because not only is he not an issue with the film would be much for the better if he was in it more. And yeah, this is like a step down for him, I guess. This is his first supporting actor nomination, so yeah. Kind of transitioning into this new phase in his career. So we're then off to 2000, where he received the Worst Actor of the Century award for 99.5% of everything he has ever done.
What's the 0.5 then, Mr. Razzie? What do you consider good? Oh, fuck's sake, absolutely not. This is where it's personal for Mr. Razzie. This is where it's like, actually go get. You have like Pia Zadora.
Yeah.
You have all your famous people that you could have easily picked. You could have had Bo Derek here. You could have had anybody. You could have had Seagal here, and I would be less like offended. Like, yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, it's so personal. It's petty and vindictive, and yeah, fuck him.
This is where I can see you becoming like a Scream-esque serial killer, just hunting Mr. Razzie down with like, "What's your favorite Stallone movie? Go on, tell me." A Stallone.
So to Mr. Razzie, Frank Stallone's a better actor.
Yeah.
You know, like I logically he thinks Frank, nothing wrong. It's all Sly. Oh, fuck him.
So we're then off to Stallone starting the millennium strong with a nomination for Get Carter, Worst Actor.
So this is one of yours.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not? Did I say I've seen Get Carter?
I thought you said you've seen Get Carter.
Oh.
Okay.
I have not seen Get Carter.
Well, there we go. You were almost comprehensive.
Oh.
We can add an addendum to this. Join us next week.
We'll
be covering Blank and a little 2-minute discussion on Get Carter. No.
Carter. Maybe I have. I don't remember enough to talk about it though.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have.
John Travolta and Sylvester Stallone. There we go.
Together at last.
So anyway, we fucked this up. 2002, we then have Driven, where he got a nomination for Worst Supporting Actor and Worst Screenplay. So this was one of mine, and
it was Driven. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And this is where I started with Driven. I think because it sounded the most bleak. Like it sounded like the worst, the one I was least interested in. So I wanted to get it out of the way because I'm like, I know if the other two are rough, I will really struggle to get over the finish line if Driven is the last one taking me home. Driven's not good. Driven's Rocky in a car. Burt Reynolds is in it, and Stallone.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, maybe we should swap. I'll take Rhinestone, and you can have Driven. Because yeah, no, it's not good, and he's not good in it. It's certainly like not a great screenplay. Like it's interesting to look at in that it has that kind of like early 2000s like weird frame rate action of like it just looks like a very early 2000s film. It's like the racing scenes are, I don't want to say they're kind of they cut weird. It's weirdly edited. It's not great on like a technical level. My only note for that really was, well, the sound design's pretty good. But no, he's not. It's not a good role for him.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't think it's a weird one for him.
And then we are off to 2004 with perhaps my introduction to Stallone, Spy Kids 3D, Game Over, I think is the subtitle, where he won Worst Supporting Actor with the addendum whose roles could fill this entire category.
Oh, fuck. So yeah, take it away. I mean, this is Stallone and Rodriguez.
Yeah.
This is right up my alley.
And what's your excuse?
I have not seen... Because I am 32 years old, Jericho, and...
You have nephews.
No interest.
We'd enjoy coming around and sitting in front of the TV for a double bill of We Can Be Heroes, Spy Kids 3D.
So yeah, how is he?
I honestly can't remember. Like, I haven't seen it since 2004. Like, my aunt took me to see it in the cinema. I remember Elijah Wood is in it because at that point in time I was like, I don't know, I was 13 years old, and so I should really have really know this. But I think I was just getting used to like, oh, like this person I liked in another thing is like playing a different character in this. And so Elijah Wood's range with going from Frodo to the guy in Spy Kids is one of the things that I most remember. The Spy Kids franchise was my introduction to like a bunch of actors, like Steve Buscemi in Spy Kids 2,
Oh.
like Danny Trejo, of course, like Antonio
Mm-hmm.
Banderas, like I forget who else there. Oh, Alan Cumming in Spy Kids 1. I think
Oh,
I
what?
think Rodriguez, this is also my introduction to Robert Rodriguez. And I think he was great. He was so in the pocket for making these kids movies, I guess, where he would have like
Mm-hmm.
he would get these like people that you would never kind of like anticipate or predict, and he would give them like kind of fun, wacky parts. And so I think Stallone is good. Like he's campy and it's weird, but it's like a Spy Kids movie. Like he fits. He
Mm-hmm.
fits. In my recollection, he doesn't stand out, and he makes the film better and more memorable than if it was someone else. So yeah, I
Okay.
don't agree with that win. We take a big old break as Stallone falls off the Razzie radar for 7 years until he returns with a nomination for Expendables as worst director.
Oh, worst
Yeah,
director.
just
Just
worst
worst
director.
director. Okay, so I've made no secret about my love for the
Yeah.
Expendables. That might not extend to the new one. We'll wait
Oh,
and see. But
I saw a poster for
we'll
that
wait
the
and
other
see.
day.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer and I'm
Oh,
worried, but whatever. I really liked the first one. I went to see it in the
same.
cinema. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked how, again, I'm saying it was strange because I sound like a hypocrite after Cobra, but I liked how grounded it
Yeah, yeah,
was and wasn't full on commando, which is what it should have been maybe, or what it
yeah,
could have been. A lot of fun bits in it. I remember liking so much. Mickey Rourke's great in
yeah,
it. I liked Lundgren in it. Obviously, we got Arnie
yeah.
cameo.
And
I
Bruno.
love I love his fight.
Don't forget
Bruno
Bruno.
Bruno's in it. I get the great fight as well, which is shot terribly with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like the big fight is famous now. So yeah, directing maybe I understand it, like because he isn't. It's not his best directorial effort.
I don't think he's
But
like
there
an
does feel,
action guy. Like we
no,
want like one of the John Wick guys or something to do it.
he
You want
wants,
like a
yeah, yeah.
choreographer, someone who can
You want you want Stallone to do more of the Rocky sixes.
exactly. He's the
Like you
grounded
want
character
the
guy. Yeah,
grounded, build them up.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He isn't as dumb or as he stereotype portrays him. So like let him do these. But yeah, if there's a John Wick people guys come in,
John Woo.
John
Yeah,
Woo would
exactly.
make
Yeah.
would make me a great Expendables film.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like yeah, I kind of get that, but I don't like seeing it here. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Seconded, I was disappointed in the first Expendables because I was going in expecting like the Avengers. I was like, oh man, it's all these people together. It's gonna be so cool, like all their unique like personas,
Mhm.
whatever. It's gonna be such a fun clash. It's gonna be like 80s. It's gonna be like a throwback, getting the gang back together. I think I went in expecting something more like Ocean's 11, but with like the
Yeah,
best of 80s action,
yeah,
and it's kind of way more generic than that.
yeah.
So but even still, it's just that's partly my expectations. I don't think it's a horrendously directed film. I just don't think it's great.
No, that's it. That's exactly it.
And so he then takes another little hiatus for 3 years before returning in 2014 with a triple Worst Actor nomination. So he was nominated for Bullet to the Head, Worst Actor, Escape Plan, Worst Actor, and Grudge Match, Worst Actor.
Okay. So which ones have you seen
I
again?
have only seen Escape Plan.
Okay. Do you want to talk about Escape Plan first?
Sure. So Escape Plan is Arnie and Stallone together for the first time
Mm-hmm.
properly, like not really counting like the Expendables. So it's like a little bit like Prison Break in that like they're two badasses locked up in like a maximum security prison and they have to plan an escape. I thought it was good fun. Like I don't have super strong memories of it because I would have seen it in the cinema in 2014, so about a decade ago now, and I haven't rewatched it since. But like I remember not feeling super strong one way or the other. I didn't love it. I wasn't like, oh, this is like a classic. I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
was hugely disappointed considering what both men were doing at the time period. Certainly, I think fondly of it because Arnie had also disappeared. Like this was sort of one of Arnie's
Yeah.
comebacks after being governor.
Yeah.
So I think I was just happy to see him back on screen again. And like it's fun. I don't know. I feel like it ticks all the boxes of what you would want from those two men. Like it's not either of their best work, but it's like a solid delivers on the promise of Arnie and Sly
Yep.
break out of a fancy prison.
Yep. Yeah, it's wasted potential,
Yeah.
but it's still fine for what it is. So the other two, Bullet to the Head is great
Yeah.
fun. I will say right away, it is the throwback 80s film. It is the Cobra. It is the the violent, over the top. It's actually a better Assassins, because I'm sure he's a hitman in it, an assassin. And it's been a while. It's been about 10 years now since I've seen it. I seen it for Walter Hill, my boy that did The Warriors, one of my favorite films. It is really fun. It's unfortunately not maybe turned up enough to be memorable and talked about. It's almost like an homage. But for this podcast as well, for this episode, I watched Grudge Match, so I have stuff to talk about that. Grudge Match is absolutely okay. It is all right. It's very simple premise. Rocky Balboa, but but Sylvester Stallone plays Razor, who is Rocky, and Robert De Niro, Big Bobby, plays Billy the Kid, who is not Raging Bull as the poster described. It wasn't Rocky versus Raging Bull. It is. He's more of a dirty grandpa in it, to be honest.
No.
He's fine. Yeah. The biggest problem with it is it's a comedy, and I was watching it, and it's not funny. Yeah. The sentimental beats, Stallone's beats, are really good. Yeah. De Niro's good in it too. He plays his part fine. But it's what it could have been is what pissed me off. So this is kind of relevant to the year. This should have been Arnie versus Sly.
Ooh, duking it out.
This should have been that, just duking it out, and then bonding at the end, like they do. Enemies becoming frenemies, or alternatively, this should be Rocky 7, and this should be Dolph Lundgren coming back as Drago and having their grudge match, their rematch, because Stallone's still in really good shape, still moves about fine here. That's what pissed me off. This should have been Rocky 7 or the big Arnie showdown, and the fact it's neither, and the fact it's a comedy and it isn't played straight is what it's cheap feeling, and it shouldn't be. It should be really grounded and character building. Stallone should have been in charge of it. But other than that, though, it's not bad. It's not a bad film. It was easy watch. Again, it's the same as Escape Plan. It's fine. It's nice seeing them. They do have good chemistry. De Niro and Stallone are really fun together, and when they are like bickering, there's a scene I really like when they meet. It's because they're doing green screen motion capturing for a video game, which reminded me of Rocky Balboa, to see them in their primes, and then they end up fighting with the Green Man suits on and getting in a scuff. I just thought that was fun. I thought that was, it's nice visual. It's a fine little film. It's just it could have been amazing, and that's my biggest problem with it, is you've wasted potential, and it's all based around the tagline Rocky versus Raging Bull. That's the biggest downfall.
Someone just went into a room full of executives and said, Rocky versus Raging Bull. And green light, here you go.
Equals money, yeah, exactly.
All right, and we are coming towards the end of our Razzie roundup, because we are in 2016 now, where Sylvester Stallone took home the Razzie Redeemer Award, from all-time Razzie champ to award contender for Creed.
Well, rightfully so as well. I mean, everyone knows my love for Creed, especially that first one is so fucking great, and Stallone is so fucking good in it. It is, because I always think Rocky 6 / Balboa is the perfect roundup to the series. At the time I was hesitant to do this kind of spin-off, thought it was unnecessary. But totally wrong. Stallone is fantastic. He's the highlight as well. He's show stealing. Like
I wouldn't go that far.
Absolutely is.
No, I don't.
So I would have personally redeemed him in 06, 07 for Balboa, but I'm happy that he's here. So very well deserved. That's it. Mr. Razzie can never rag on him again. End of. Done.
Wait. A mere 4 years later, we are back with Nominations for Worst Actor, Worst Screen Combo, shared with his impotent rage, and Worst Screenplay for Rambo: Last Blood.
So yeah, this is where he had to hand it back, didn't he? His Redeemer Award. He had to mail it back to Mr. Razzie.
Yeah.
I've spoke about Last Blood so much. Probably the most talked about Rambo over the time. Like I've said so many times, it isn't good, isn't great, but it isn't bad. It's muddled and messed, and it isn't a Rambo film. It's obviously its biggest problem.
Yeah.
Stallone isn't playing John Rambo. He's playing that grumpy Samaritan modern day bear, which is just a shame, but it doesn't deserve all these awards. I strongly like it. The worst Rambo, yeah, fair play. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the finale. I spoke about that so much. When he gets to be Rambo and have Rambo elements, it's great fun.
Yeah.
When it's bogged down with other shit, it's not so good. But he's fine in it. He's fine. He still moves. I think that's the one thing I always think about with Arnie and Sly as we get into like the 2010s onwards is Arnie becomes quite immobile. Like even in the Expendables one, he's sitting down, I think, for his cameo. Whereas Stallone can still move.
How dare you? He stood up. They're in a church. They're in a church.
He stood up. 10 out of 10. Whereas I'm always impressed by the mobility of Stallone. Yeah. Especially as he's not a young man anymore.
Yeah.
So fair play to him still being able to do it. I would take another Rambo if to close it off and a bit nicer. I don't want a fucking prequel. I don't want a remake. I don't want any recasting. But a really old Stallone being Rambo.
James Mangold.
Yeah. Mangold can do it for me. Yeah, I would take that. But it doesn't deserve any of these noms. It's not good, but it doesn't deserve them.
And then we are bringing things to a close with 2013 and a nomination for Worst Actor, Samaritan.
Yay! So I finished Samaritan. Congratulations. It's fine. Yeah. It's how to some like Euron Greyjoy. I don't know the actor's name. Is
that Pulu Asbæk?
I think that's the one. I don't know his name. He's in it. He's good fun. It's sort of the antagonist essentially. It's all about Stallone being this titular character and in retirement and being forced. It's basically Hancock, but done by Zack Schneider.
So well, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Take away the humor of Hancock and put it through a grimdark filter, and it's fine. It's really short. Yeah. That was the thing that surprised me. It's a very fucking quick film. Stallone is fine. Again, he's in bear mode. He is Rambo 5-6 mode. It's fine. It's not. It's honestly, it's better than it should be. That's pretty much all I can say. It's an easy watch. It's an Amazon production style. You could just put it on. Oh, I've watched Mission Impossible 5. What's next? Samaritan autoplay. It's not a huge compliment, I know, but it's fine. He is absolutely fine in it, though. Like I say, I like bear mode, grumpy old Stallone. It's what I want Seagal to do. So I like to see Stallone doing it. And as much as I'm burnt out on superhero stuff, it's a nice little twist. It's different enough. Yeah, it's fine. And no one will speak about it in 10 years' time. No one will remember it. Yeah. This is going to be like Assassins or Specialist or something. It will just melt away and be forgotten about.
It makes me a little sad just because, like, I don't know. I'm just like a man at a time, but like seeing our heroes reduced to like streaming shows and like Stallone being on TV, like direct to streaming vehicles. Like, no, these are fucking movie stars. Mm-hmm. They need to be on the big screen. I don't want to be watching Arnie on a Netflix show. I don't want to be watching Stallone at home. I want to be watching them on the silver screen where they belong.
Yeah, I agree with I agree with that as well. And I think there's still time to utilize them and to give them some big hurrah. I still think I think Stallone's showing it in his James Gunn friendship. He pops up up all the time. He was great as the shark in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad is fantastic. Yeah,
he is fine in like Guardians of the Galaxy when he pops up. He's still got relevancy.
There's life in the old dog.
Yeah, like there is, and I don't even these little cameos, it sucks. I want to see a big screen Stallone film with a good director, not just some has been or someone from the past, like someone current that could
Well,
utilize them.
looking at his early career when he's working with auteurs like Altman, Bogdanovich, Woody Allen, it's just like, yeah, he's doing all these. It's almost like Tom Cruise being like the star of everything he does. You're
Hmm.
kind of like, what could Stallone, like? It's always Stallone and some journeyman.
Hmm.
That's why I'm like, someone like Mangold is probably the closest that you would get.
That's
But I do
that's
wonder, yeah,
logically, but I don't want logical. I
yeah.
want him to be
I
plucked.
want Paul
I
Thomas
want Paul
Anderson
Thomas.
directing.
Yes, that's it. Give me Ari Aster wanting to cast him instead of Joaquin or something. Give me
Wow, yeah,
something. Just give me someone
yeah.
that's young.
Scorsese.
Yeah, I
Somebody who's young.
yeah. I would love.
Guillermo del Toro is doing Frankenstein. Stallone could play the
He
monster.
could, he could play the monster and the professor doctor. He could do everything. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him with Scorsese. That is something I've always kind of wanted, especially seeing Marty's ability to pull performances out of much worse actors. I think he could do
Yeah,
something great with Stallone,
yeah,
and I could, they could talk about New York and mobsters and what,
yeah, yeah.
like there's
Exactly. Yeah,
something in there. Give me like Stallone and the Irishman, and I
yeah,
would be so happy. I think he does. If De Niro can still do these, Stallone can still do these. So
yeah,
if
yeah.
fucking Harrison Ford can still do these, Stallone can still do these.
That's maybe the issue. Is like Indiana Jones, the last one had like a body double for most of
Oh
it,
yeah.
whereas like no one quite really matches Stallone's frame. It's probably harder to find a Stallone double that you can CGI his head
Frank's
onto
not
than it
doing
is to
anything,
find.
like get Frank in. Yeah, no, I agree. But again, that plays on to my mobility thing about Stallone, is he can still
Yeah,
move way better than
yeah.
Harrison or De Niro or even Arne, like Seagal. None of them can move anymore, whereas Stallone, remarkably good shape. And it shows in Samaritan as well. Like it's the whole thing I was thinking about was fucking hell, you can still walk without having that weird bended knees. Harrison
Old
Ford,
man,
yeah, yeah.
Irishman. Yeah, yeah,
I noticed it so much in Indiana Jones, and I
yeah.
that's something I was like, no, you know what, Stallone, you can maybe Rocky's maybe past you now, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's still something there. Cobra 2 can still happen.
There we go. That's it. Nicholas Finding Refn and Stallone. That's the collaboration that we
Yep.
need. Because Nicholas Finding Refn also has moved to like Netflix and streaming or whatever. He hasn't released a theatrical film
No,
since The Neon Demon. So yeah, both of them together. That's what we're gonna
that's
have.
where the money is. So it's a sad indictment of how times are, but yeah, that's where the money is.
Yeah. Yep. Well, not even that much money for too much longer, if figures are to be believed. But yeah, so that brings us to a close. I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of how we would fix the career of Sylvester
Yeah,
Stallone, or this is
yeah.
the moves we'd make if we were his agent. We'd be trying to hook him up with
Hmm.
someone who can coax a little bit more out of him on the acting side. But at the same time, you know what? He's done his
He's
work. If he were to keel over tomorrow, he would leave a career that would be envied by all. Like,
Oscar
if he wants to just
nominated.
make.
Like
Yeah.
he's twice. Did he get one for Creed?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. That's a nice roundup of your career there. So pretty much
Yeah.
everything you do after Creed is just for fun.
Yeah.
You've bookend your career perfectly. Go do what you want. Hang out. Do whatever you want. Make your
Yeah. If
money.
you want to cash those Amazon
Yeah,
checks, no one has earned it more than you.
100%.
So you of course don't think he's worthy as the title of the Razzie Heavyweight
Absolutely not.
Champion of the
Absolutely.
world.
And going through this episode by episode, when you see the Madonnas of the world and one.
Ooh.
Oh, like yeah, there's just the ones that just fucking what's her name, Dirty Love.
Yeah.
There's one people.
Jenny
Jenny
McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Pauly Shore or Rob Schneider,
Pauly
if they were more
Shore.
prolific, they would be more worthy as Razzie champs.
There's so many more.
Whereas Stallone's just a bigger target.
Medea, even, like
Yeah.
it's a fucking joke.
God, can you imagine if we had to watch all the Medea
43
films?
Medea films in a row. Great. Yeah, like he doesn't deserve it, and you know what? It just comes off so bitter from Mr. Razzie. I'm glad, as far to my knowledge, that Stallone's never really acknowledged the Razzies in the way that Halle Berry or someone has.
Yeah, don't legitimize them, Sylvester.
Good on you, side. Knock him
You're
out.
better than
Knock
that,
him out. He drew first blood.
Was there any omissions that you were surprised? Like, speaking about Ants, I was like, oh, it's weird that Ants never came up. But like anything that you were like,
Ants, I thought was a dead on for supporting actor, just for Sly. The ones I would have thought they predate the Razzies.
Yeah.
So that explains. Because I was like, oh, where's this? So hold on, if you give me a second. Yeah. What was that ones I was thinking of? So yeah, Staying Alive, I believe, is after the Razzies, which I've talked about. Which is I think's worth. I think I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I feel like even I was harsh on it. I think it might be one of those, once you watch it again, it's way better. What was the other ones? I thought, I'm glad Demolition Man never got here. Yeah. Part of me thought Copland, which is James Mangold.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I didn't make that connection.
De Niro, Lolita, it's all my boys. Robert Patrick. But that's a good film, so I guess that, you can't dunk on that. No, I mean, Expendables 2 and 3 and the sort of 2010 films I expected more to pop up here. Ones I don't even know about, like Escape Plan 2 and things like that, Yeah. I don't know if they're eligible. So none from like the heyday. I expected maybe Judge Dredd to get dunked on a lot more because it was a big picture release. But yeah, no, I because he does just nominate every fucking year anyway, doesn't he? Any film he's coming out with in the 90s, he's getting nominated for.
Well, you saw that streak from the 80s to the 90s where he was just there a year. Like, it's only in 2001, like it's only sort of with the turn of millennium that he kind of drops off a little bit, because he had like a hot streak where just every single year he was nominated at least once.
Yeah. So yeah, no, nothing I can think of, or just top of the head. Just glad that Demolition Man never got the nod. Yeah, because that would have sent me over the top. It would have it would have left me on a cliffhanger. Yeah. So fuck it. Fuck Mr. Razzie. He doesn't deserve it at all.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our first actor-centric special. So thank you for listening, listeners. Thank you, Kyle, for providing your expertise on the career of Sylvester Stallone.
Delighted.
Because I would not have been able to carry this.
But again, he's more than eligible. He's the biggest winner. He's welcome on any time. So is Frank.
Yeah.
We can get Sylvester to talk about Frank's career and vice versa. Yeah, like good fun. I had good fun, and once again, thoroughly recommend Oscar to everyone. It's a fun time. You should watch Oscar.
And I would recommend Lock Up. Yeah. Like, Lock Up's fun. Like, if you're looking for a little throwback movie that they don't necessarily make anymore, and you like Stallone in prisons, then throw on Lock Up. At the very least, that driving scene is a fun one.
Exactly.
And yeah, Nicholas Finding Refn, if you're looking for two screenwriters to collaborate on the script to Cobra 2,
yep.
know where you can find us. And that is at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com, where you can email us with any thoughts on the podcast or indeed any offers of employment. And you can follow us at Watching Worst on social media, where you can send us any thoughts, opinions, takes on the show, or anything that we've covered in the past or are going to cover in the future. And the future, we'll be heading off to 2013 next week with movie 43. And I've done a little, because we're very close to the end of our journey. Yeah. So I've done a little bit of research for this year, and I've watched a film which is maybe the most heartbroken I have been from any of the Razzie
That's
things.
that's
So,
piqued my curiosity now.
there's someone who I like who made me very sad, and so if you want to hear a
Well,
broken heart, if you want to hear a heartbroken Jericho, then tune in next week.
amazing. All right, excellent. Looking forward to it, guys. And see you next week. Thanks very much, everyone.